the Loop podcast, a podcast that is inspired by the Western culture and the rodeo industry. I am your host, Jordan Joe Hullabaugh, professional rodeo athlete, business owner, married to my best friend, full-time cowgirl, and I am blessed to get to do what I love to do each and every day. My goal is to promote this industry and specifically the sport of breakaway roping. On In the Loop podcast, we are bringing you behind-the-scenes stories of what real life looks like every day, from cowgirls, cowboys, industry producers, leaders, trailblazers, you name it, we talk about it. We are sharing stories of this Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. Join me as we share these stories of the amazing triumphs, trials, and victories, defining moments that we all have along this journey of the amazing way of life that we live. You are officially in the loop. Let's get to it. Okay, guys, so today I am here with, what I feel like is like greatness. Josh Hambone Hilton is here with us today, Music Director of the Year 2023 PRCA. Also took over the big thing they call the NFR and ran the music there this year. No big deal. He is also on the committee of the San Angelo Rodeo committee, and they have breakaway this year. So that's kind of what we're here to talk about today. But first, Hambone, what's going on? How's it going this year?
Man, it's going good. We're rocking and rolling in Denver. Like we were talking about before, it's a little cold, and there's a negative sign in front of a single digit. It's always fun. So, but what would an announcer say? It's cold outside, but the action is hot inside. But
I can't wait to have you on the podcast today because I feel like I'm going to get interviewed as well, and then hear all the things that we hear as athletes going on. Do you have nightmares at night of listening to all the announcers and all their catch lines? I mean, how does that work for you?
It's funny. Justin McKee is doing an announcer school, and he asked me if I could, talk about working with announcers. And I think my pet peeve is what they call a crutch. So, some people say, round of applause, round of applause, round of applause. They just keep milking, crowds like that. So, but I tried announcing. The last thing I announced was a bikini bull riding on a mechanical bull. So I that's as far as my talent will go on a microphone.
There you go. That's exciting. A little different than I anticipated it to be, but take it or leave it.
Not a good announcer.
So tell me, what was it like this year? Obviously, I watched you on the Cowboy Channel. Thank you to the Cowboy Channel for all the good things that you do for our sport. But I watched you on the Cowboy Channel receive your 2023 PRCA Music Director of the Year award, which was a great speech and a hard time, too. They just had the attack on Las Vegas, and they had delayed the rodeo, and there was a lot of things going on. I thought you spoke to that very well. But then you filled some pretty big shoes this year. You stepped in and you ran the music at the NFR. So talk us through what that was like, receiving that award and then stepping in and running the biggest show of the year.
It was completely unexpected. I've been blessed to win that 2 other times, but the last time was like in 2019. So I just thought it was, time had moved on, and getting the NFR in my head. I'm an overanalyzer at times, and I just thought, well, people are going to say, well, he's doing the NFR, that's enough. Let's give the award to someone else. And so when Jessica called my name, I was genuinely shocked, and it was a great night. We being that they moved the perf the next day, and we had no 8 a.m. meeting or anything, and my brother was out there. Of course, he pushes all the cattle at the NFR, and so he's working, and my parents were there, and obviously all your friends are there. So we partied down pretty good after that awards banquet. But I do feel bad. I was just so aggravated with people. I get so mad about social media and all the pros out there. So, and that was the genesis of that speech. But I feel terrible. I didn't even thank my wife or my family or all the committees that hire me, the San Angelo leadership that allow me to keep rodeoing. And no, I just wanted to bash the haters on Facebook.
Well, Sometimes you can't always be perfect. I mean, you're perfect most of the time, so we'll just give
Yeah,
you a pass
right.
this time.
Right. And I felt, and I, of all years, I needed to mention my wife Whit, because I was just on edge, filling in for, Benji, who has done the NFR 22 times. It was huge, because there's some people out there that, you know, weren't confident at all in me, even though I had done tour finales and major rodeos for a long time, big rodeos. And uh, it was just it was a lot of pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and so I was a little irritable for 30 to 60 days, we'll say that, before the NFR. But once I got in that chair, and we started going, and that was the worst part. I just wanted to go, and because once you go,
Mhm.
you do your thing, right? And it was a
Right.
blessing. It was awesome. It was an amazing experience, and I hope to be doing it for the foreseeable future.
I think too, one of the things you were talking about is the pressure that you had that other people put on you and the confidence that maybe they didn't have, even though, like you said, you had the accolades, you had all the background and the training, you were ready to do it, step right in. But that's hard in our industry. Change is really hard in our industry. And I
Mhm.
love just a different perspective on the flip side of it is so how are some of the ways that you navigated that change? Because it is hard, even though you're like, "Hey, I've done several, like, I got this, I can do this," but change is hard. So talk about how are some of the ways that you navigated that?
Well, it was great. So this was my first year. I did the Great Lakes Circuit Finals, which is like going back home. I'm originally from a small town in Iowa, Sydney, Iowa. Great rodeo, Hall of Fame rodeo. But so I do a few rodeos up there, and I got to do the Great Lakes Circuit Finals, which is an outstanding circuit finals in Louisville, Kentucky. Great crowds, 12,000 people. Almost all 3 nights. They sell out almost all 3 nights for a circuit finals. I I always laugh, like
Wow.
I've done
Yeah.
the Texas, the Prairie, the Canadian, the Canadian. Now that the Western Agribition up in Regina, Saskatchewan, that one was awesome. But it was an established rodeo. You know what I mean? They just took it over as the Maple Leaf when they come out with that. So anyway, that being said, but like the Texas and Prairie, you've got NFR contestants galore, and you could, shoot a shotgun off in the stands and not hit anybody. But the Great Lakes Circuit,
Mhm.
and that's just, they're used to it down there. Great Lakes Circuit
Right.
Final, of course, it's a bit at a big ag show as well. And so Alan Reinheimer, the GM of the NFR, lives about an hour and a half from there in Indiana, and so he got to come down, um, and kind of hear me work, and so that was good for both of us. For him to hear and going in and knowing, I can do the job. Of course, it's a lot. Obviously, it's a lot different from the NFR, but um, it was that. And then we've got a guest house at our place, and I set up a table and my laptops and everything, and then I would run a performance of the NFR just to kind of get timing down and all that stuff. During the show, it's not as much as during the event, I should say, but it's an in between stuff, following the script and stuff like that. So I kind of that was the way I rehearsed. I I've never worked on music in the almost 20 years I've done this so much as I did in those 30 to 60 days out. And well,
That's
and a
awesome.
lot, yeah, a lot in September, getting ready for the Cinch playoffs in Sioux Falls. So that is the most NFR like rodeo out there. You had two big announcers, Gary Yerg and Boyd Paul Hamus, Rory Lumble's production. So it was fast, it was going, and you had big names. So it was the most NFR like, and that one kicked ass. And so that built some confidence. But and Benji was behind me 110%. He knew, I mean, he's known for a few years that, they're probably gonna make a change here at some point. I'd been the assistant music director for the last 2 years. Um, and it's not so much the music part, it was, where to be at the meetings and how to set up, and it just and who people are. So it was good that I saw that for a couple of years before I sat in that seat. But I had Benji's full support, and which is awesome. I mean, we're dear friends, and we work a lot together on different projects. And so but it was definitely it was definitely crazy. And of course the start, as you said, the shooting and everything and being a day late. But once we got rolling, it was pretty badass.
Well, and as I sit here and listen to you, I'm like, we talk all the time about athletes, mental training, competing, physical, mental, all the things that we work on and that we do to prepare and be the best that we can for our event. And then here you guys are doing the exact same thing at the rodeo. It's no different than competing. I mean, you are competing essentially just in a different aspect and a different perspective. And I think that's really cool for people to hear all the things that go into what you guys do. I mean, there's just as much pressure on you as there is somebody that's backing in the box or getting in the buck and shoot.
Yeah, it is. A lot of people, they don't realize, and I appreciate you calling that out, because I mean, I wish I had one. I wish I had a timeline from the NFR, you know, or even here in Denver. Tommy Joe Lucia's running the production, and I mean, we're down to that. It'll say hot song starts at 7:28 and 15 seconds. I mean, and it's got to be because the TV starts at this certain time. So we roll the opening video at exactly the time that's on there, and that's the way it is at the NFR. You have this much time, and you have to be exact. And then you have, when you're meeting, and you have the meetings the week before, or the calls that come every couple weeks or monthly before, you have 10 nights, and so you're bouncing around. Okay, well, on military night we got this place, the military honors, but then we don't forget about the NFR icons. That's on per 4, and that's after the tie down roping, or wherever it is. It's a lot to process,
It's
and
chaos.
you've got to pay attention. And it's so unlike any other rodeo, obviously, but it takes a big chunk of mental toughness and sharpness to be able to be on point for 10 nights in a row, and for 2 hours, 2+ hours, however long the perf goes.
Right.
But and then feel it. You're in, the music carries it, right? I mean, yeah, the announcers are obviously the ones that controlling everything, but that beat in the background keeps things
It just creates an
jazzed up.
atmosphere.
Correct. And
Mhm.
and I like, and you can get dramatic when Jordan Joe has to be 1.9 to win. You get dramatic, or if there's a bronc laying down, and you could feel it, the lull, you got to bring a crowd pump to get them picked up, and hope the announcer picks up on it, which most of them do. But that was the big thing there, was just how do I would overanalyze again. Do I do well? Normally I would do this at a rodeo, but well, I don't know. It's at the NFR, do this. And then I finally just, said, F it, and
I'm
let's
doing it.
go do what I do. And,
Yeah.
and it was great. Everybody was, I never have received so much, compliments and stuff like that. It meant a lot from people in the business, from people that rodeo for a living, and that means more than anything, when your peers give you that love and respect. So uh it was a magical time. It was crazy, but it was amazing.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I'm getting goosebumps even listening to you about it. I didn't get to go to any other performances because they moved it back, and so we ended up leaving Vegas kinda early, but I did get to watch it on the Cowboy Channel, so it was a great new feel for the NFR this year, and like you said, the atmosphere. I've been privileged to work behind the scenes with some of the production crews. Mr. John Gwatney, he's always ramrodding me and on my butt, but
Yep.
one of my dear
Oh yeah.
friends. But yeah, when you have a production and you're going to these meetings and you do have to meet these timelines, that's something completely opened my eyes to so much more that there is in this industry and how we get to do what we do and what makes it happen. um it's by increments, especially at a production of that faucet, where it's the NFR or Sioux Falls or NFB or whatever, the bigger multi events. there's only so much time that they have to get it all in. And so it has to be very structured, very organized, and everybody's got to step up and do their best. And so it's, I've had a lot of people ask me, what's it like doing the interviews? And I'm like, it's tougher doing that than it is to rope. Like, I would obviously rather be roping, but it's like really, really hard to do the interviews because you only have a certain amount of time to get a certain amount of motion,
Yeah.
and it's a big challenge within itself. So
Yeah, and you don't wanna throw the layup questions, "What's it you just won, the round here at the NFBR. What's that like?" Well, yeah, obviously it's badass, so it is. I always think that, like, okay, what,
yeah.
the interview Amy Wilson, shout out to her with getting the world
Yep.
champions coming up on stage, holy cow. That I mean, you're in front of
Talk about
the
pressure.
rodeo Western sports, everybody's watching that. And so it is tough doing an interview, something like that. So, but you're badass, so it doesn't matter. It's all good.
Oh, well, you too. I appreciate it, but it's fun. It's really cool. I just like to shed the light on the perspective of the other end of the arena that people don't really get to
Yeah.
see. I think it's pretty neat. But you talked about San Angelo leadership and how they are 120% behind you. This year, we are so excited we get to come on board as breakaway ropers and be a part of the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo, which for me, and I know several other breakaway ropers, has been a dream that's come true, honestly. Like, San Angelo is one of the most prestigious events out there. You guys have been going for 92 years. Wow. It's one of the most iconic cowboy rodeos. And when I say cowboy, I mean like old school, grit, character,
Yeah.
integrity, all the things cowboy places. And so we get to have breakaway this year. So talk a little bit about that. I know you had a huge part in that. Lip Chip LLC had a huge part in bringing breakaway on. The Cinch Roping Fiesta has breakaway. So talk a little bit about all that and your decision to add breakaway as a committee.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been on the docket for a while. Just there were some that okay, so to answer a base question, because we're calf roping capital of the world, and in the roping fiesta, and we had brought in breakaway 3 years ago. First year it was it just there was only, I think, 40 some gals or whatever, and then the next year Lip Chip stepped in, and Brad Bolin and the crew, and put up 50,000 in prize money and bonuses, and we we paid out just over
Yeah,
100,000.
no
And then
big
last
deal.
year was
Just 50,000.
yeah, and then last year was almost 120,000 paid out, and changed the structure after you and I visited, and just paying out average, and all that stuff. And so it had gone really great. And but then, like, the rodeo, we sell out in a matter of hours, all
Right.
13 shows. So, and I think that's a lot of people at the NFR. I think that's the nature. Well, why? They're already sold out. So why do we need to add something that we're sold out? But in Angelo, obviously it's the entertainment value of your rodeo. And we wanted that y'all to be a part too. So we got that done, and Lip Chip stepped up, and they were a big sponsor before, but now, and
Right.
then they said, they were 30,000, and which is a huge sponsor. Well, then they said, "Well, we'll step up and pay all the prize money for the ladies." So that went to 45,000, but then that actually cost us committee 30,000. You see what I'm saying? Because now the 45 is going straight
Right.
through us to the WPRA for the payout. But I mean, it's doesn't matter. We'll get it. That's a great thing about San Angelo. The support out there for that rodeo is amazing. I mean, that and the stock show bringing $78 million to a community of a little over 100,000. So I knew that wasn't gonna be a problem. And Lip Chip, they've just been awesome for us. And up the rodeo was a little bit more interesting than I thought. I don't know if you want to get into that, but you think 45,000 added, take 180 girls, and that's what's set up every other time event, i.e. the barrel racing, but steer wrestling, the team roping, and the tie down, 180 limit, which we only hit in the tie down roping. And a lot of times we're not even there. So even when you say limit, people always like, oh, I can't believe the limit. 180 is a lot, y'all. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of
And
people.
you get much past that, and you're really in the not no talent. Sorry, just or not as strong. So limit 180, 2 head and a short. We're the only. I think we were the 6th highest paying total payout last year. So we're right. I mean, we're right behind $1 million rodeos, but everybody else is all bracket. Denver's now a bracket system, and it started that last year. But they, I'll finish this point first before I go into that. But that's old school, and that's what you as contestants, a lot of times prefer to ensure the payouts more, because when you have these bracket rodeos, you're maybe winning 1,500, and you may win your bracket and maybe win 1,500 to $3,000. But then in the end, you make it to the very end, and that's the big payoff. You win the 20,000 in Fort Worth, you win the 50,000 in Houston, you win however much in San Antonio. I'm not sure, but so you look at our payouts, and it looked comparable. Obviously minus Calgary or Houston with that 50,000 that kind of trumps everything. But it's going to be exciting for the girls. It's going to be fast. It's a fast setup. So it's going to be really badass, or like the other events when it's bad, it's bad. The breakouts and misses. I mean, the team roping here in Denver has been god awful, so I mean, just to be blunt honest, so but we're looking forward to it, and we're very excited to finally get it done and move on and have you ladies be a part of it.
Yeah, and I think we're very excited too. I just want to touch a little bit more on the format because it is a big thing. I think that we've adapted, or I guess I came in on it when the brackets were already in place. And so my husband, he is definitely the other way. He's like, when I won Cheyenne, I won like almost $20,000-$30,000 because there was 200 guys entered, and it was the old school format, so to speak. When I won Cheyenne, I won, I think, $12,000. So the format and the payout just makes it look quite a bit different. But I think I just came in on that end of it, so I'm used to the brackets and all those things. But then also I appreciate as a contestant the format of getting to rope 2 in a short, because it makes a difference and it does change up a little bit of everything. It's more of an average base versus it just a process of elimination sometimes. So I guess for me, I'm not too biased on either one. I just love what I do, so I'm glad I get the opportunity. But
Yeah.
I really want to touch on the fact that you guys stepped in and you gave us equal money, which came from Lip Chip. Obviously, thank you, Lip Chip. But then it was straight across the board, just like every other event, the same amount of contestants, the same format, everything. And as a contestant, I really appreciate that, because that's something that we really strive for to be a part of, and getting our foot in the door and all these things. But it's really, just ripping the Band-Aid off and giving us that opportunity. I really appreciate that as a contestant. But I want you to touch a little bit more on, because as a breakaway roper, and you talked about it a little bit, the biggest thing we're I'm thankful for so many people just like you guys that have given us the opportunity, but we're trying to get more, right? We're women. I mean, we want more. I don't know what to say. I mean, we're just always going to be that way. But we've also got to be appreciative in the journey as we go along. But like you talked about, you lost 30,000 as a committee to bring us on and give us the 45,000, which is great for us. Not so good for you. Like you said, no
Yep.
problem. San Angelo will make it up. But it's still something that's a business thing I think we need to bring more attention to, as there are sacrifices being made to bring the breakaway in, which I totally appreciate. But I also want to say thank you on the behalf of the committee, because you took a $30,000 hit that's going to have to come from somewhere else to make us a part of it, even with your sold out show, and all those things. So break that down. Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like from a committee standpoint.
Yeah. So what we did across the board, we did a ticket increase. So you're gonna spend more money to increase the entertainment dollar or the level of your rodeo. So that was part of the reason, and we hadn't done one in a long time. It was time, but that helped us get through, financially, business wise. Because if you have a shoe store and you sell all the shoes in your store, but then, and you make a lot of money, but they want to add in something else that, you know, doesn't make any sense business wise. And so that was the thought. And so we said, well, let's, we'll do a ticket increase, and that will help offset a lot of the cost at, $26 a run, which does help. It is the stock charges factored in, or one run on your guys' end. But the feed, but again, and I can't say enough about the support in San Angelo. Grogan's Farm and Home, Purina, they stepped up, and that's another probably pallet and a half to 2 pallets of grain for calves. They stepped up. That's part of their trade agreement. Palmer's Feed and Seed, they donate another half load of hay. So you got to think more of just having the event, feeding, sorting. It's another day of slack on my crew, and volunteers. Obviously it's less, you don't have calf and tires or anything like, but still it doesn't matter. They got to be there and sort and get up early. And, we start at 9:00 that day. So there's a lot of extenuating circumstances rather than just having the breakaway, because a lot of times you have an idea and it's really great, and then it gets there and it's like, man, this is maybe not what we thought, but we know it's going to be awesome. That's not the point. It's just there was more behind the scenes stuff that we had to do. Right. But again, we're happy to do it. And we're a lot of people are really energized because it is such a cowboy town. You walk into Denver and they're not going to know. It's a very city crowd, great crowd.
Right.
They have had outstanding crowds here, but they're not going to know most of the people, 99% of the people in there are not going to know who, even Luke Branquino. I mean, a small percentage. In San Angelo, out of the 5,000 in the seats, 4,800 are going to know who Jordan
Luke
Joe
Branquino.
Fabrizio is.
Yeah.
Or Luke Branquino. They're going to know there. That's that town. And they're and which is hard. That the hardest crowd to work of the year, I think. Boyd and I talk about this. Boyd Paul Hamas is our short round crowd, because everybody's there like, okay, impress me. It's a rodeo crowd.
Show me what you got.
Yeah. 2-1. You got to be 1-9 to win it. You suck.
Your swing.
Yeah. So, which on that point, being 2 head in a short, I think that'll help a bunch, rather than just a 1 head, because that's when you're going to get the run and guns. But 2 head with the average and everything to try to make it that top 12 to get to that last, second to last day. So it'll be great. But yeah, on a committee, to get back to that, if you're thinking about having it, just weigh out all the options. The crowd will love it. It's another event for women, which is a huge thing. And the perception of that is great. I mean, it needs to be. I mean, the loudest San Angelo's crowd gets, or I would say even here or most places, sorry about that, is the barrel race. They get a fast run, they turn that corner, going home, and a lot of it's because it's for the ladies, and a lot of times when you use a good run in the tie down or the breakaway, excuse me, that crowd's going nuts. So another event to involve women in rodeo is awesome. I think, Jordan, I think a lot of mentality was people were going to try and see, is this sticking around? Is this for real? There's a lot of, it's for, another event for women. This is great. Okay, well, let's give it some time and let's see. And I think it's proven that it is not, breakaway is not going anywhere. It's done nothing but grow. I mean, it's not like bareback riding, where it or any rough stock, that's hard to train kids to do. It's hard to get kids to get on bareback horses, but breakaway, I mean, I breakawayed when I was a kid, it's a huge event, for juniors on up. And now, instead of just stopping at the college finals, now these girls are, and maybe jackpots or something, but now these girls have got a chance to, y'all making a living. And that's what's cool.
Yeah.
Is it's created another livelihood for contestants in Western sports but I mean, obviously, mostly, the women. It creates a path to make a life for yourselves on a big scale, way bigger than normal. Obviously, is what it used to be. Is what I'm trying to say. If I'm making any sense, I'm rambling.
No, I think you're making total sense. And like a couple things I want to touch on. I do think I have there is a lady that is a big endorser and supporter of breakaway roping, and she has taught me a lot and very, very intelligent, but she is a stats woman. And she's like, I want to see the numbers and I want to see the facts. And so she's helped me a lot to learn, okay, let's measure this and let's see. And so we've been working together a little bit on putting some numbers and some facts and things like that. The membership in the breakaway roping, from what we can tell, this is just our numbers looking off the website and things like that, has increased over a third every single year consecutively, which is pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
The added money, the rodeos that have added it, all the things have increased incredibly. Shelby Bosley left almost with 200,000 this year. Last year, Martha Angeloni had 130. So the numbers, the added money is getting big. It's proven itself. The youth, there's Jill Edwards has a roping called Something Special Breakaway Roping. There's 110-year-olds that enter that thing. Like, where are they
Wow.
coming from?
Yeah,
And why are they
that's nuts.
roping? Go away, yeah, gosh. But it's so cool to see, because it's like it is establishing itself, and it is providing an outlet for the youth, the young ladies, the young women, the women that are in our sport, the veterans. You can do breakaway roping from any age for quite some time. So I think that's kind of cool. It's like the next best to team roping. Everybody can do it.
Yeah.
But for women, you know what I mean? But it is proven. So I love that. But I'm glad you talked about that, because here's the deal. I want to be in every rodeo that we can. I want to rope at the Thomas and Mack. I want to have equal added money. But there is also another side to this story that we need to understand as contestants, to what goes into making this happen, the sacrifice the committees are making, and the story behind it. Because we have to do our job as well as contestants. Yeah, we show up and we enter and we rope, but we also need to be appreciative of all the things that go into it. So that's my next question for you is you've watched breakaway roping as it's evolved. You watched it come up and go. What are some of the things that you've seen just as, doing your music on the San Angelo committee? It doesn't have to be any certain place, but that breakaway ropers as a whole could do a better job of, to maybe have a better impact on this forward movement that we're all trying to accomplish?
Boy, that's a tough question.
Well, duh.
Because I mean, yeah, in San Angelo, bring your kids and go through the carnival and spend some money.
That's not hard to do. Get some cotton candy.
Yeah, ladies, please bring your kids to San Angelo, because that's the carnival's our big money maker. And that's honestly, it was a thought. It was one of the points that I made to the to a lot of people and board members, is like, this is another avenue where these ladies travel with their families.
Their families. Yes.
Got their kids with them, and so let's try that. But when we first started, when it first was in rodeos, I think the group as a whole, and this is just observation, so don't everybody get riled up, but the time in the box, riding forward, swinging, backing up, riding forward, backing up, obviously minus college rodeos, they weren't used to the snap of a pro rodeo, or at least a lot of them,
production time,
and that's what production time. And so, and just in waiting, and it just seems like it would take a while. But now I have told a lot of people that the lady, you guys get in, let's rope, obviously you want things to be right, and everybody understands that, but calf standing, horse in the right spot, whatever. But as a whole, that's been the biggest change, I think, of what you guys have done really well, is understanding, hey, look, for especially in its infancy of it, breakaway and pro rodeos, is, we're glad to be here. Thank you. That I hear more gals tell that to any, thank you. I'm glad to be here. We appreciate it. I hear that with other committees. But the urgency in the box, just like the guys, just doesn't matter what event, a lot of rodeos have a shoot boss, and like, okay, a John Gwatney type, okay, you ready, let's go. what do you need? Need a head, whatever. There's somebody there kind of hustling you. And if your rodeo doesn't have that, you need it. A lot of rodeos. I have a hard time. That's the only bad thing about the Cowboy Channel is there's some really terrible product out there. Anyway, that's a time for another story, but no, that's what I would say as far as better. I mean, I don't know, contestants as a whole, time event, pick up after yourself. Dear God, when you leave a parking lot after a slack, it looks like a bomb went off. I mean, that's a volunteer picking that up. Not everywhere is like these big indoor rodeos that have staff on. A lot of them are volunteers or Boy Scout troops that are cleaning up after you. So, don't clean your trailer out in the middle of the parking lot. There's trash bins. Don't just sit your trash out. That's a contestants as a whole. That's not breakaway ladies only. So
That's everybody in general.
That's everybody in general. And the rough stock guys behind the chutes is one big ball of tape. I mean, it's there'll be trash cans there and there's tape everywhere. So I think contestants as a whole need to really realize that, you're blessed. Without the committees, the power lies not in the PRCA and not in the WPRA, but with the committees. They have the power. Mm-hmm. It's their money. It's their time. It's their effort that is allowing you all to come compete for the money and allowing the PRCA to sanction their event or WPRA. So the power's in the committees, and we all have to remember that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you said that, because I think that that's something that maybe there's not enough light shed on it. And so appreciation needs to go across the board to everybody. Just the common courtesy of being a good steward of all the things that we've got going on is another thing. And then, but like you said, like being appreciative, being grateful, the power's in the committees. And so I think for me, I want to know more of what I can do better. Like I have this huge end goal in mind. How can I get there and how can I get there fast? And so I just appreciate you guys as a committee and a whole, and just giving us your perspective is a big thing. So, okay. San Angelo's coming up, rolling down the pike. What is coming up next for you? What do you have going on? What's it look like until then?
Yeah, so we finish up here in Denver on Sunday with the short round, and then I actually go home. Our stock show in Angelo is in February, so I'm actually home during that, and then we head to Houston at the end of February, and we'll be there for 20 some days, and at that amazing, awesome show, and then come home, and it's about a week and a half. The day I get home, we start loading in sound and lights, so that it's I mean, bam. I mean, I get home and we go right into it. So, and then Angelo starts there April 5th. The slack barrel racing is on the 1st, and then the tie down team roping and steer wrestling's on the 2nd and 3rd, and then away we go. Start on the 5th, and then the breakaway slack is on the 9th. It's in between the 2 weekends. So we just got a day dedicated to that. So we're super excited. So yeah, that's my next few months. Not a ton of rodeo, but a lot of rodeo. Not a ton of, I should say, not a ton of places, but a lot of rodeo. So between here in Houston, it's 40 perfs. So we're looking forward to it, and yeah, so we're really excited to have the ladies come down and be a part. And if you can't get a ticket to San Angelo, still come out. We've got places out on the Midway and the beer barn that have the rodeo going. So come out and enjoy the atmosphere, and come support the ladies.
Well, Josh, Hambone, Hilton, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you for taking the time. I cannot wait to back of the box to San Angelo and so many other rodeos that you're going to. Like you said, it's not a lot of traveling, but a lot of perfs, a lot of rodeos coming up. So it's going to be a really good spring. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Jordan, Joe, and appreciate you always, and thank you for your help. You were a big part of getting Breakaway to San Angelo, and we very much appreciate you and what you do for the sport and for the ladies.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very excited. Can't wait to do that.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.